The Scubapro S600 is a pneumatically balanced design featuring both a diver-adjustable inhalation resistance knob and flow vane control. Its valve system is refined and simple to service. During this presentation, we will cover all aspects of a typical annual service, including disassembly procedures, general cleaning and inspection, reassembly, and final on-air adjustments and testing. This tutorial is intended to assist you and further support tips, techniques, and the subject matter covered in the Scubapro workshop. To properly service the S600, the following tools are required: the Scubapro multifunction tool, inline adjustment tool, ball end Allen wrench or suitable alternative, screwdriver, flow vane removal tool, brass O-ring pick set, double hook O-ring pick, and cover tool. Always reference a current schematic and tech notes taken during your specialized Scubapro workshop. As all Scubapro second stages feature an asymmetric design, we utilize a pin to hold the covers true. The pin is located at the 9 o'clock position. To lift the pin out of place, simply engage a double hook under the pin head and lift slightly using a rolling action. Once the head is lifted, you may find it useful to chase the pin using a slider tool to extract. To remove the front cover, introduce the Scubapro cover tool into the face of the cover by depressing and turning counterclockwise. The ring and cover is a two-piece assembly. Study the guide tabs on the cover and the alignment slots they fit into on the back of the ring. The 12 o'clock tab and slot are both more narrow than the rest and aid proper alignment. Remove the thin thrust washer. Next, depress the diaphragm to remove the primary washer with locking tab. Now gently remove the inhalation diaphragm as silicone can rip or tear. Hold the diaphragm to light and check for punctures by pulling like so. Rotate and repeat, pulling from various positions. A silicone material integrity check is an important step to verify possible exposure to elements like gasoline, diesel, or a variety of aerosols. Hold, pull, and snap. Should the diaphragm not snap back into shape rapidly, replace with new. Inspect the working surface of the disc for lever tracks or other imperfections and replace as needed. The disc should be smooth, ensuring seamless operation. The next step is to remove the inlet tube from the case. We must first remove a series of O-rings and jam nut. Pinch O-rings like so to facilitate their removal. Using the Scubapro multi-tool, engage function number 1 at a 45-degree angle. Hold the case flat on the bench and shock to loosen the jam nut. This step is a good practice to prevent cracking the case unnecessarily. Now remove the secondary jam nut base O-ring. Proceed by removing the C-clip retainer. Place a flat blade screwdriver in the negative detent or the bottom of the wave. Slide your finger or thumb to provide support and pry. At this point, we can now separate the inlet tube from the case. Do so as an assembly, keeping all the bits together. This is a push, guide, and pull operation, so pay close attention. Push on the metal threads to disengage. Now depress the lever and rotate the inlet tube 180 degrees. Guide outward. As you will encounter resistance from the inlet tube O-ring, it's best to wiggle and glide until the tube is freed. Rest the assembly on the bench and slide the diver control assembly off. Next, push the valve components free using a 3/32 ball end driver or similar. Just be sure the tool profile is rounded and slim enough to pass through the center of the adjustable orifice. We no longer recommend removing the lever during routine service. Simply leave it in place and work around it. The valve components are comprised of the balance chamber, spring, and poppet assembly. Note, if a poppet assembly is already supplied in the service kit, as a matter of convenience, go ahead and use it. Just remember to dynamically lubricate the two stem O-rings. Otherwise, follow these steps. Inspect the area of engagement between the lever and the poppet. These two shoulders are where the cam action takes place and may develop wear over time. Any wear merits replacement. Carefully remove the two stem O-rings, introducing the back of the double hook without scoring the O-ring lands. Next, remove the low-pressure seat from the poppet. Wedge a suitable blunt device under the low-pressure seat and lift out. To correctly remove the adjustable orifice, fully engage the multi-tool function number 7 into the back slots and unscrew counterclockwise until the threads have disengaged. Listen and feel for a click indicating the threads are skipping. Good. Now use the fin-tip soft brass tool or similar to push the orifice out. This soft brass tool clears the lever tabs and fits on the inside shoulder of the orifice without causing any damage to the knife edge. Let's proceed by removing the adjustable orifice O-ring. Insert the brass O-ring pick into a slot, guide underneath the O-ring, and roll away. Now thoroughly inspect the knife edge surface using your fingernail to detect any nicks or imperfections by rotating the orifice back and forth. Imperfections are generally felt and amplified throughout your fingernail when rotating. Additionally, use of a jeweler's loupe or microscope to determine its condition is always good practice. Check the threads and the tool slot for damage. Discovery of any imperfections on this critical part merits replacement. We are now ready to move on and service the diver adjustable inhalation resistance knob and micro adjust. Let's begin by discarding the icon decal. Next, unscrew the knob screw and watch for its base O-ring. Utilize the knob to expel the knob stem, turning clockwise. Finish off like so. The micro adjust is concealed within the knob stem and is driven out clockwise as well. Remove these O-rings. Refer to a current schematic for details. And now, let's move on to servicing the exhaust valve area. It's important to routinely inspect the exhaust valve. Be certain that the case bottom drain hole is clear and operational and able to expel the last drop of water. A metal pin holds the exhaust valve cover secure. The pin is easily removed by pushing it free using a 3/32 ball-and Allen wrench, pushing from one side and pulling from the other. There is no need to physically remove the exhaust valve unless replacement is intended. However, do inspect it with great detail. Inspect to be sure the valve has not become warped over time. Look from the side to be sure it's laying flat and maintaining a good seal to the case. As an example, this is what a warped valve would look like. This scenario would be an inlet for water and would merit replacement. When diving in the tropics, insects may pose a problem. Inspect to be sure no insects have trimmed or chewed material away, preventing a proper seal. Inspect the mushroom retainer to be sure the exhaust valve remains tenacious. Remove associated mouthpiece clamp as necessary. Proper inspection of the mouthpiece would include pushing down with your thumb, like this, looking for any sort of cuts or holes around its circumference. While the flow vane is not an annual service, certainly its operation will stiffen with time and will then require service. Place the flow vane control in the dive position. A specialized slotted flow vane removal tool is required. Tool placement looks something like the example on screen now. Mimic that, but on the inside. The slotted end engages the base of the flow vane from the inside. The second step is to use fulcrum to expel the vane. An O-ring seals the vane to the case and must be replaced when removed. Introduce and use the backside of a double hook using extreme caution to avoid damaging the O-ring land with the sharpened point. Once the point has cleared, move the pick forward and rotate the point up to avoid scratching your finger. Use your thumb as a stop and now encircle the O-ring, lifting it out of its land. We are now ready to clean the separate components in the ultrasonic cleaner using a suitable solution. Place all parts into the stainless steel basket. Isolate any delicate parts to protect them from damage. A 35mm film canister works well to protect the knife edge. Place into the ultrasonic cleaner and activate. Rinse cleaning solution away thoroughly with fresh running water. Let's proceed with drying off components with air, clean shop rags, towels, or paper towels and cotton swabs. Just be sure they are clean and dry each time. Inspect all parts along the way, including the adjustable orifice. Detail the adjustable orifice using a common pencil eraser. We are now ready for reassembly. Open your Scubapro service kit and prep accordingly. Let's work in the reverse order. Dynamically lubricate the flow vane O-ring land. Work quality lubricant into the pores of the O-ring and feel for any imperfections, even when new. Now install the O-ring using a brass pick. Return the flow vane and orient facing the recess towards the mouthpiece. Feel for a positive and tenacious click. Now rotate back and forth to ensure proper operation. Return inspected mouthpiece, Scubapro faces up, and secure the mouthpiece clamp of choice. Close locking mechanism when applicable. Return the exhaust valve cover and holding pin. Using the back of a hand tool handle facilitates this operation without marring any surfaces. Both pin ends must engage the case. Orienting the orifice slots at the 12 and 6 o'clock position will facilitate O-ring installation. Now apply lubricant to the beginning threads. Push the orifice into the inlet tube to keep it protected. Lubricate, inspect, and install the inlet tube O-ring. Note: if a new poppet assembly is already supplied in the service kit, as a matter of convenience, go ahead and use it. Just remember to dynamically lubricate the 2 stem O-rings. Otherwise, follow these steps. Press the poppet onto the low-pressure seat. Dynamically lubricate the poppet stem O-ring lands and O-rings and install. Balance chambers can become scratched or become imperfect over time or when subjected to the elements. By sliding a well-lubricated poppet stem into the balance chamber back and forth like so, inner wall imperfections can often be detected. Replace as necessary. This operation should be smooth throughout and free of any catches to ensure seamless performance. We can now determine airtight integrity. Install the balance chamber onto the poppet stem just enough to cover the O-rings. Now seal the face of the low-pressure seat. Draw the 2 parts together, compressing trapped air, essentially forming an air spring, to verify that these components are indeed leak-free. Should this assembly go flat, repeat these steps with the components submerged underwater and any leaks will be revealed by bubbles. As the poppet and balance chamber have both been inspected and are lubricated, let's return the spring and install the assembly. Orient the 2 like shoulders facing down or opposite the lever. Hold the lever up while running the poppet assembly forward until they engage. Apply light pressure on the back of the balance chamber and operate the lever. Notice your fingers pushed back away from the inlet tube each time you depress and operate the lever. Lubricate and install the micro-adjust O-ring, knob stem O-ring, and guide sleeve O-rings. Push and draw in the micro-adjust threads into the knob stem until it bottoms out. As a preliminary adjustment, take your mark and screw clockwise 2 rotations as on screen now. Now insert the micro-adjust and knob stem assembly into the guide sleeve. Start with your fingers, then utilize the knob to finish out and snug. Now reconnect the guide sleeve assembly to the inlet tube. Note the alignment of the tab and slot. Pull back on the guide sleeve slightly until the lever drops. Now rotate and position the inlet tube so that the lever is facing opposite its normal position and introduce into the case slowly. Draw and guide components as needed, gently. Keep the gray inlet tube and black sleeve loosely assembled until the lever is able to freely rotate into its working position. Align the tube and lock into the case by pushing the knob stem inward. The tube assembly bottoms out, and the series of inlet tube related O-rings are no longer visible. The C-clip retainer land is now accessible. Orient the retainer clip wave top inward and snap into place. Lubricate the jam nut base O-ring and install. Apply a bead of lubrication to the inlet tube threads. Return the jam nut. During installation, the lubricant will be broadcast, facilitating the next service. Once you feel the O-ring compress firmly, you may now proceed to the next O-ring should an O-ring land be present. Drop the lever slightly to ensure proper installation of the inhalation diaphragm. This is not an adjustment. Check the integrity of the diaphragm sealing lip, which must securely fit into the receiving case channel. Rest the diaphragm into the channel and chase its circumference with a suitable soft tool. Be absolutely certain that the entire diameter is flush and sealed. Orient the flat, smooth side of the thrust washer towards the inhalation diaphragm, engaging the locking tab first. Note how the tab fits into the case and can be seen from the outside. Now introduce the secondary flat thrust washer. Return the aligned cover ring and purge valve. It is often helpful to spin the ring counterclockwise until a click is felt and then rotate clockwise until snug. Now engage the specialty cover tool and tighten until aligning the ring hole to the case pin through hole. Introduce the pin and either push snug with your finger or by using something like a soft, round tool handle. We are now ready for final on-air adjustments and testing. Let's proceed by connecting the inline adjustment tool. Now charge the S600 with intermediate pressure. Advance the spool and engage the orifice slots. Rotate counterclockwise until a slight leak is present, then clockwise until the leak stops, plus 1 tick to stabilize the adjustment. Press the purge valve slightly to determine lever height. The lever must kiss the diaphragm disc. Avoid lever rattle. Now we are ready to check inhalation effort using a magnehelic gauge and accurate IP gauge. To properly measure the inhalation effort, the practical option is to connect the magnehelic gauge to the second stage mouthpiece via specialized accessories. Now gently draw a sustained inhalation, watching for the point where the IP gauge drops, indicating that the first stage is now open and flowing. At that very instant, capture the reading on the magnehelic gauge. Your target inhalation effort is 1.1 to 1.3 inches of water. We do not advise setting to an effort of less than 1.1, as the second stage is sure to leak when in use underwater. Make any necessary adjustments via the micro-adjust and flat blade screwdriver by increasing or decreasing the spring counterforce. Recheck the adjustable orifice position to satisfaction. No lever rattle should be present. Pull back on the inline adjustment spool to disengage prior to attempting removal of same. It's good practice to use water to verify in-water behavior. First, flood the second stage to check for leaks via bubbles. Your hearing may not be as good as you think. Second, return to the surface, drain all water, and seal the mouthpiece with your thumb as if it were in the diver's mouth and resubmerge. Slowly roll forward into a head-down position to verify the stability of the regulator. If bubbles commence to flow in a head-down position, the unit is set too light and the spring counterforce must be increased to achieve hydrostatic equilibrium. Return the diver adjustment knob stem, then install the O-ring and secure with screw. Clean the screw head with household alcohol in preparation of installing a new decal. Remove the adhesive back, press, and hold. At this point, it is now time to verify that we are able to generate a Venturi assist. Remove the inline adjustment tool and attach the low-pressure hose directly. Now simply position the dive pre-dive control in the pre-dive position and purge the second stage. The flow of air should stop crisply each time the purge is released. Now move the control to the dive position. Depress the purge and a Venturi-initiated vacuum assist will sustain a free flow, commonly known as Viva. Snug the LP hose using the universal tool and return the hose sleeve. Now call your customer and let them know they're ready for another fun-filled day of diving adventure. The objective of this presentation has been to give you a real-world practical approach covering all aspects of a typical annual service, including disassembly procedures, general cleaning and inspection, reassembly, and final adjustments and testing. This tutorial is intended to assist you and further support tips, techniques, and subject matter covered in the Scubapro workshop.